And we are live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to 50 Strong. Thank you all so much for being here. As everybody is coming in, I am going to launch a poll. If you wouldn't mind, give us a little feedback as we're getting started here, just that we know a little bit about who's joining us. Awesome to have so many of you coming in. I see some really familiar names. Awesome. Hi, Gia. How are you? Kenneth, good to see you. Awesome. You guys, thank you so much for being here. We'll give it just a couple more minutes. So a little bit about the results that I'm seeing so far. We're going to let the poll keep going for a little bit longer. Looks like we have a lot of repeat folks, guys. This is great. 2/3 of you so far have been to a 50 Strong session before. So we really appreciate you joining us. I know that time is something that we are all running short on. So thank you so much for being here. So welcome to this week's session of 50 Strong EmployerConnect. We're honored to have one of our series sponsors here with us today, TEKsystems. And we are also so happy to have some awesome folks from Booz Allen Hamilton also joining us today to talk about their company. We'd like to send a shout out to all of our university partners, in particular, the University of Arizona, the University of South Carolina, the University of South Florida, and the Texas A&M University System. So if you are joining us from one of those partner schools, thank you so much for being here. I'd also like to say a quick thank you to all of our corporate sponsors that are helping us make this entire series possible. Those are ADP, Deloitte, Amazon, and TEKsystems. Just a little bit of background as folks are still joining. Here's the thing. We know that navigating civilian employment can be complicated for those that are accustomed to military norms. And Kevin and I know this because he lived it and I lived it with him. And so really what 50 Strong is about is us doing our part, if we can, to help make a warm connection and to give folks direct exposure to those in industry that can help them navigate this brave new world. For those of you that are student veterans, transition can be a tough time. For those of you that are student veterans, your entire time in school is part of your transition. And so what we hope is that you can use these sessions to help you engage early and often with those in industry so that when it comes time for you to kind of engage full-time in your job search, you're more than prepared for that. So a little bit about who we are really quickly. My name is Candy Tillman. I'm kind of the day-to-day, if you will, of 50 Strong. My background is almost 20 years in corporate. So companies like Oracle, SAP, Procter & Gamble. About 3 years ago, I jumped into the veteran services space and have been really focused on workforce development in particular. I think part of that is probably because of what I saw in my husband's own journey, and I'll defer over to Kevin in just a second. But also, I think just given my background, work was something that came kind of second nature to me. So with that, Kevin, do you mind to just say hello and share a little bit about kind of your post-military employment experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for jumping on today. And thanks for all the corporate partners jumping on here. And I see Cody Nichols also jumping on from U of A. I appreciate everybody attending. Yeah, so Candy got this thing going in large part because my experience was not so good. So I got out in 2005. I had a college degree prior to this, and a lot of you guys have been on before. I've heard this story where I thought that I'd be in a good spot where I got a degree. I was in the military. I'm like, I'm just going to easily transition. And I was shocked at how little I understood the market and how difficult it was to even just to navigate, to know what jobs are out there, how to get my resume, who to contact. It was really, really foreign. It was almost like if someone dumped you in the military, without basic training, without AIT, and just plopped you inside of a unit and someone said, hey, go clear a building. Like I didn't know, no idea what I'm doing here. So to me, it's kind of frightening. And also when you're trying to get a job and you need a job to survive on this planet, it adds to the stress. So the difficulty was, it's not just finding a job, but if you're on a time frame, the stress level starts getting more and more. And it's just, my opinion, it was brutal. And we would hate for anybody else to have to go through that if they don't have to go through that. So, which is why we're putting these things on where you can actually talk to industry and get direct feedback, meet them in person, engage with them on LinkedIn, learn how to use LinkedIn, which is where most, a lot of the jobs are, at least where you start how to navigate. So I'm just grateful everybody took the time to attend today. And we got two really good companies with great people on to give you as much information as possible as one more piece to get the ball rolling for you. So thank you, Candy, if that was.
Awesome. Absolutely. Thanks, Kev. So that's a great point. So the employers that are here with us today and all of the employers that we bring in are actively seeking your skills. So that's the number one thing. Every single one of these companies have resourced military specific pathways. Now, maybe one of these companies is a great fit for you, maybe not. Either way, what we hope is that the repetitive exposure to lots of different types of companies can help you find tools to navigate your own job search. So those are just a few of the companies that have either been with us at 50 Strong or coming in. Importantly, our university partners are working with us because these partners are actively trying to figure out what does career readiness for our military connected students look like. And so again, you see our university partners there, they're partnering with us on this pilot series. We also have strategic partners that I want to quickly mention. Veterati is a really important mentoring tool for those of you that are not already using it. I highly recommend it. And DoD Skill Bridge. So if you're here with us and you're active duty, a DoD Skill Bridge internship is one of the most important things that I think you can do. So I'm going to stop the share for just a second. And I am going to ask Cody Nichols. Cody, would you, so good to see you, Cody. Cody is the Assistant Dean of Military and Veteran Engagement at the University of Arizona, and arguably kind of one of my early partners in this endeavor. Cody and I were kind of working on 50 Strong before it was 50 Strong, quite frankly. And Cody is joining us today to say hello, and also because of a very special guest that we have. So Cody, can I kick it over to you just to talk a little bit about what you're learning from 50 Strong and how we're working together?
Certainly, and thank you for the opportunity, Candy and Kevin. Phenomenal opportunity for service members, veterans, and spouses. And we, and Candy and I have talked about this for some time, is we need to be trying to get our veterans more out in front, connecting and engaging with employers, especially the employers like the ones we have here, Booz Allen Hamilton, TEKsystems, our partners, right, who are looking for our population. And so we can't, sit around and wait for the career fairs to happen on campus, as important as those are. We need to be getting on LinkedIn. We need to be networking. We need to be engaging. We need to be connecting with folks, getting out in front, because guess what? The person to your left and the person to your right is doing that exact same thing. And so we need our vets to be out there. We were very fortunate to have Brian Leatherman as a student at the University of Arizona, who not only was doing all of that, but was doing that for his fellow veterans at the U of A, connecting and bringing employers to campus and connecting with them for our vets. And so I'm just excited to hear what everyone has to say, to hear what Brian has to say today, and just to keep this moving forward, because the further out in front of this we can get for our population, the better equipped and able they're going to be to find that meaningful employment that they're looking for, that takes into their military experience along with their degree, and finding that right connection for them in the next stage of their life. So thank you, Candy and Kevin, for this opportunity, and for our employer partners, and for Brian for being here today as well.
And with that, may I introduce Brian Leatherman and Grant Hegner from Booz Allen Hamilton. Guys, do you mind to just say hello? And Brian, let's start with you, since Cody has already mentioned your name a couple of times.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Brian Leatherman. I'm my official title is I'm a data scientist with Booz Allen Hamilton. I left active duty in 2016 and enrolled at the University of Arizona, where I met Cody and yeah, we did a lot of really, really cool work there with the Veterans Center. And yeah, I just saw kind of some of these shortfalls that Cody and Candy spoke to while I was there. So it's great to see what it's kind of turned into today.
Awesome. Thanks for being with us, Brian.
And then I'm going to jump in. So my name is Grant Hegner. I'm also with Booz Allen, a colleague of Brian's. I'm a lead associate with our military and veteran affairs team. And I've been with that team since really since inception for probably the last year and a half. Prior to that, I was what they call a client-facing person for Booz Allen with one of our contracts. And I'm a 21-year Air Force veteran. I've been with Booz Allen for about 4.5 years. And so I've gotten to kind of see some of the client-facing things and the transition things, right? Kind of going through my own experiences. And then also just the transition from within Booz Allen, right? Migrating from client-facing to kind of a more corporate structure. So I'm excited to be here today. Thank you very much, Candy and Kevin. This is exciting to be part of 50 Strong. It's super also exciting for me from the perspective of the student, as I also have a college-aged freshman. So it's really neat to see all of the veteran transition stuff and be able to work through some of those stories, and then also apply it to my own family, right? Who either wants to serve or will serve, or just worries about their own transition. So we got a lot of cool stuff to go through. I'm super excited to be here, and we'll just keep it flowing.
Thank you so much, Grant and Brian. And then to the TEKsystems teams, guys, thank you so much for being here. For those of you out there, just as a reminder, TEKsystems is also one of our early 4 partners in this Test and Learn series. Kevin and I have known Mike Powers for quite some time. And so, Mike, we are so happy to have you and your team here. And can we kick it over to you, Mike, to just start with introductions?
Sure. Yeah, great to be here. Yeah, sorry, just trying to respond to Tyler and some of the people in here. My name is Mike Powers. I've been in TEKsystems 22 years. I served 21 years in the Army aviation world and retired out about 3 years ago. And I run the Veterans and Disabilities program here. And I would be glad to talk to everybody about openings, both internally for business or IT throughout this or afterwards if things get busy. And I'll let my team introduce themselves from here. Taylor, you want to go ahead?
Hi, everybody. I am Taylor Jarrett. On the civilian side, am an IT recruiter. I've been with TEKsystems for 2 years. And on the military side, I am a reservist officer, first lieutenant AG officer. But as my time here has been with Tech, I've had the chance and the opportunity to talk to a lot of veterans or a lot of individuals transitioning and realizing that is a hard move. And, a lot of people, a lot of the employers on the civilian sector can't quite understand what we do and what you all have done on the military side. So that is what I look to talk to you guys about in the future and help you all with. And great to meet everybody.
Great. Thanks, Taylor. Martha?
Hi, everybody. I'm Martha Sanders. I have been with Tech almost 7 years now. I kind of have a unique story. I started with Tech while I was joining the Army Reserves as well. So Tech took me in shortly after I went off to boot camp and everything. Came back and continued on with my career at Tech while also having my military career. So 6 years in with Army Reserves. I work in aviation as well. I just moved over to a new role, and Tech's been there for me all along the way. I'm also a military spouse. My husband is active duty, so I kind of have my hands in a lot of pots doing a lot of different things. But really nice to meet everybody.
Great. Thanks, Martha. Shannon?
Oh, yes, sir. Shannon McAdoo. I'm a retired guardsman. Spent 24 years with the Texas military forces. Was lucky enough to stand up our first Homeland Response Force. I've been with TEKsystems. This will also be my 24th year with TEKsystems as well. I've done sales, recruiting, a little bit of everything. Helped Mike with our veterans program in the Irving, Texas branch. So definitely fortunate to be a part of this. Thank you so much for this invite, and I'm excited to get to know some folks and help.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks, Shannon.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for being with us. So guys, we're gonna, I'm gonna share with you just a little bit more. I want to remind everybody of the replays that are available, and then I'm going to hush and turn it back over to the Booz Allen team, and then followed by the TEKsystems team. But a couple things I just want to remind everybody of. This is the 11th session, I think, in a 15-week series. All of the replays are put on our website within 24 hours of the sessions. They are unedited. We do this because, listen, we know life gets in the way, and if you can't be with us live, we still want you to have access to the content that these folks are sharing. So all the replays are available. Our very first session started with all of our university partners joining us. We did a whole session on leveraging LinkedIn. We also had the CEO from Vetterati, Daniel Rao, joining us. I think it's so important that everybody finds their own tribe of mentors. Vetterati is one tool. If that is one that is helpful to you, please use it. We also have replays available. We've had the Amazon team in. We had a great session on September 10th by Deloitte called Demystifying the Civilian Recruiting Process. In my opinion, that one is foundational for everybody. On the 17th of September, we had a whole session focused on DoD Skill Bridge. I'm going to talk in a second about what that session has kind of now spurred for us, but that replay is available. We then had TEKsystems with us, as well as Microsoft, P&G, U-Haul, Mayo Clinic, and the Amazon team came back. We had an awesome mock interview session. We're trying to do that again. It was a very cool session. Again, all those replays are available. October 15th, we had the ADP team in. And then last week we had Johnson & Johnson and JB Hunt. Here's the thing, every single one of these employers offers kind of a unique perspective. But if you're joining us every week, you'll start to hear kind of a common language, a common thread, if you will, about the job hunting process. And so again, what we're hoping is that hear it once, great. Hear it a couple times, awesome. But when you start to hear it consistently, it becomes part of your own language and your engagement. Next week, for the 50strong EmployerConnect on Thursday, we're going to have Deloitte and Wells Fargo in. So please join us for that. We also are kicking off something kind of new for next week. So next Wednesday, we're doing another SkillBridge specific session. We're going to have Boris Kuhn, who is the DoD SkillBridge lead, joining us, as well as some awesome employers that have national SkillBridge programs that are actively seeking to connect with service members. If you are active duty, please go right now to our website and sign up for that session. Seating is a little bit limited. All videos will be on, so you will have direct engagement, just like we do, directly with employers in breakout rooms that you can navigate on your own. So again, if you're active duty, please be sure to sign up for that one. Couple housekeeping things. First housekeeping thing, I always try to remember to tell folks, Kevin and I live really near Luke Air Force Base. If the jets fly over, the jets fly over. We'll go on mute and I'll ask one of our speakers to just jump in. But second thing that I wanted to share with you, and I see lots of folks already doing this. Bruce Thompson, I think you already kicked us off in the chat box. Guys, use the chat box to connect with other attendees that are on this call. You can drop your LinkedIn URL in there. I'll show you how to do that in just a second if you're not used to that. But please use this as an opportunity to grow your own network with like-minded people. Secondly, if you want to send messages only to the panelists, use the Q&A box. So those messages, we're all going to keep an eye on those, and we'll try to type in answers or maybe even respond to some of them live if we can. So if you are not sure how to find your LinkedIn URL, I'm quickly going to show you. As a reminder, we did a whole leveraging LinkedIn session, the very first session. So if you're not quite comfortable with LinkedIn, totally fine. But there's lots of tools that you can use to help kind of get started. But in order to get to your personal LinkedIn URL, click your picture up in the top right, go to view profile, contact info, and there it is. So if some of you have like a funky combination of letters and numbers after your name, this is also the place that you could edit that if you wanted to. And then you just copy and paste that in the chat box. All right, I hope that is helpful. So again, welcome to all of the folks that are joining us from Booz Allen Hamilton and TEKsystems. We are so appreciative that you've joined us. At this point, I will turn it over to Grant and Brian to share a little bit with us about Booz Allen Hamilton.
Thanks, Candy. So we had expectation management. We think this is about 20 to 25 minutes. I got like 12 slides. So in the spirit of, the military brief, that's how it looks. So at Booz Allen, really our mission is to, or our purpose, right, is to change the world. And so I'm going to kind of talk about what that looks like for me, and then pass to Brian for him to kind of share what empowering people really means to him. And so changing the world, what it is for me is really kind of influencing that kind of 5 and 10 meter target within your personal space, and really using that for good to make a big change. And doing things like 50 strong presentations, right, is a great representation of what that looks like, from a kind of a Booz Allen employee perspective. We do things like this, whether it's in our free time, off time, paid time, weekend time, right? I mean, just to be kind of part of Booz Allen, and to influence and have the desire and willingness to literally try to change the world for better, right, is really kind of our purpose and our charge. But to get to that, right, you really have to empower people. And so I kind of want to have Brian break down what that looks like, especially with his background, as SVA, right, and his involvement in all these things. He's obviously been empowered. So Brian, over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Grant. So yeah, I'm going to speak to most of these things from the perspective of a veteran or a student veteran. I've been with Booz Allen for 2 months, and I can say in that short amount of time, especially with COVID, they really act on their core values of empowering change and empowering people. And I saw this from the second I had my first informational interview with Booz Allen. It wasn't really a hey, what can you do for us? Where can we put you regardless of your happiness or what you want to do? They were really trying to figure out what drove me, what I was looking to do, where I could help, and that was really important to me. So they asked questions like, what are my strengths? What are like my background? Like trying to get out of me, basically not only obviously where I fit within the organization, but where am I going to feel empowered, and where am I going to feel valued, and that sort of thing. So they were really trying to figure out where I could succeed, and it continued through the whole interview process. I met with department and contract leads on several different projects, and all of them were, it was me-based questions, like what do you want to do? So that was really important, and I've seen that even on my current project. I really have ownership. I really have a voice, and it's been a really, really positive experience. And yeah, I'll send it back over to Grant now for the next slide.
Thanks, Brian. So I think we're up to at least one more slide.
Yeah.
And I don't have the clicker. There we go. We could do one more. All right, thanks, Candy. So at Booz Allen, right, we really are, we're changing the world for the better. We've transformed the way that organizations serve the customers and right the larger citizenship of the country, kept soldiers safe on the battlefield. We've done things like protecting smart cars from cyber attacks, and each day, our work grows more and more in a technical nature, and we're really trying to bring a combination of digital solutions and data analytics, right, and engineering to bring to bear against our customers, toughest challenges. And really, to Brian's point, you represent, as transitioning service members or as veteran students, right, talent that we recognize has a dedication to mission and an understanding that they can really kind of take back and provide solutions or help provide solutions to a lot of those different challenges. Could do one more slide. And so here's Booz Allen at a glance, right? And you'll notice that we were founded in 1914. We're headquartered in McLean, but you'll see later on we're a global company, right? So we have locations all over the country, which is pretty unbelievable. I think the math works out that we've served very continuously, I believe, a Navy client for at least the last 78 consecutive years, which is really significant. We are about 27,000 employees and 7.5 billion in revenue. And it's always difficult to determine what that looks like from a kind of a large, small, medium business size landscape. But those are just kind of our numbers. For me, the one thing that jumps out is stability, right? And that the longevity of how long the company has been around. It's incredibly diverse in talent and skill set, and you'll see on there that a large swath of our clientele is in the defense and intel space, and again, which is things where we understand that that's your background, right, as student veterans, and kind of where you come from. So Brian, when you look at the stats slide, right, can you walk through like what jumps out at you and kind of what made you think about Booz Allen from an employment perspective?
Yeah, so I'm kind of in three areas here. Not only was I a student veteran, looking for a job, I'm also a military spouse. I'm also a reservist. So it was very important to me, as Grant said, that stability, finding the right fit, not only organizationally, but from a culture perspective. Like I needed to be around people that really understood me. And the biggest thing I can say about Booz Allen employees and the culture that I have experienced is it's been the right mix for me. As you see here, 29% of our workforce is either our veterans or reservists, and you see that in every contract. So like you can understand each other on those levels. It doesn't matter if I'm talking to a lower level employee or a project manager. Many times they have served in some capacity. So you kind of speak that same veteran language. But there's also a lot of diversity in the people you meet. From there's people in the analytics department where I work who are your typical straight out of school, and that's how they got to where they are now, producing value for the company. But we also have those subject matter experts in, at least I work on the defense side. So you always have a good mix of advancing the technologies that our clients need, the things they hire us for, and also the experience within the field. So it's been really great because they do a really, really good job of constructing their teams, not only from a departmental level, but a contract level.
Cool, and then we'll go to the next slide. Brian has like the best transitions I've heard out of any of our people on these things. So this is good. So this is how Booz Allen's broken down, right? So we have a couple lanes where we have focus on consulting, analytics, digital solutions, engineering, and cyber. And really these are opportunities, right, to be able to enter Booz Allen. But then once you're in there, really the capabilities are kind of matrixed across those capabilities. And so there are parts and pieces intermingled amongst all of them. And really at Booz Allen, we try to hire and recognize that, a long-term career is really a good way forward. And so, you may enter at a consulting level, right, where you just kind of, work with a traditional client, and you consult and you try to solve some of their problems, and you may transition into a more of an analytics role. They've got great education and kind of flex ed type programs that and flexibility and really the empowerment to be able to move around. We'll do the next, there we go. And then, so here's some of our projects, right? And so these are the things that are just really influenced by that earlier slide. From a consultant perspective, right, we've worked with the FDA to get to get drugs faster to patients, to help them out through their medical needs. We've helped the Army support wounded warriors. Through analysts, we've worked with the IRS to save billions of tax fraud, produce predictive models to deliver healthcare insights. Very recently, we're partnered with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation to deliver a program called EpiMaps to help out with COVID and some of those identifications, which is super really neat. Digital problem solvers, right? We help veterans get their benefits, and then also have made sure that that overseas military veterans have an opportunity to continue to vote, which is obviously very important right around this particular time of the year. And then you'll see with the engineers who help build battlefield sensors, right? Develop renewable energy sources, and just do good work protecting our airspace. And then finally, as cyber experts, and really things that we have other presentations on, right? And different technical training initiatives that we're working through to be able to bring in folks to kind of really start to increase our presence and be able to continue the fight, right? Give back, defend our nation's infrastructure, and promote a mobile workforce, which many of us are right now a work from home or a remote type option. So this is a little bit what I was talking about before, where we are a global country. This is a good map of the U.S. and some of the locations that we're at, and I think hopefully as veterans or students, you'll recognize a lot of these places as bases, right? Close proximity to military installations that you may or may not have been stationed. And so we have 400 office locations spread across 20 different countries, which is significant. And I have had the good fortune to be able to retire and settle in Texas and basically work out of that office. But I do see and recognize a lot of these places complementary to my previous to my bases. And Brian, I just wonder, I was looking through your bio and your resume, and I know you've been you've had some cool assignments, and so I wonder if you can kind of walk through what you see in this map and how that kind of equates to opportunities.
Absolutely. So yeah, obviously during my time in the military, I was stationed in Alaska, Arizona, and obviously deployments all over the world. But what this map tells me, putting my military spouse hat on for a second, anywhere my wife goes, I know that I'll likely be able to find an opportunity within Booz Allen. As I said, I'm in kind of the analytics function, client facing. So there's just so many options. And right now with the work from home and telework where you can, there's just almost anywhere you want to be, even outside of the areas on this map. I think there's an opportunity for you if obviously you're the right fit. So I right now work out of, I basically split time between Andrews Air Force Base and the Pentagon here in DC. But even in my short time here of 2 months working on a DoD contract, you meet people that are on other contracts and we can help each other. I'm constantly on the phone with members of our team in Hawaii, North Carolina, just trying to get things I need to do my job, and maybe they're getting information they need to do there. So it's, we're all over the world, but it feels like a small firm. And that's kind of the biggest takeaway I've gotten in my short time working for Booz. And next slide.
Yeah, that reach back is actually a really important point, right? Because that's things that we share and really talk about, and we want to make sure that really all of our folks are comfortable with that reach back, right? And what does that look like, and how can they kind of dive back in? So between personal development and then just asking questions is significant, right, for personal growth, but then also just to be able to deliver a good product long term. And I think we've got, in the spirit of fives, right? We've got 5 kind of different professional career tracks that you could be interested in. But then we also have kind of 5 business groups that we really work with, and this is just a representative sample of what that looks like. Military guys like an org chart, right? So at the top you got the head shed, it's leadership, and then from there you really have kind of 3 lanes of traditional business, right? The global defense group, the national security group, and the civilian services group. And then something that kind of really is matrixed across those is our strategic innovation group, where they do a lot of development and just like forward thinking activities that really influence, again, all those different lanes of business. And then we have the enterprise services group, which is really think the back end support staff, right? So it's the lawyers, it's the accountants, it's the kind of the staff, right? That supports all the employees on the front lines, really doing a lot of the day-to-day operations. And so this one, I've heard Brian say now twice and talk about his military spouse. We'll call it badge of honor, right? Which, because it really is. And so at Booz Allen, like, we really recognize not just your service, but your family service, right? And in particular, the military spouses, we have some pretty significantly strong programs that support that. To Brian's point, as you have opportunities to move with the service, right? We recognize that, and we have different programs set up that are very specifically designed to help spouses identify career tracks and opportunities at new installations. And then we're also very supportive of being able to upskill, again, from those 5 kind of professional tracks of analytics, engineering, right, cyber, where if you need to kind of like bounce around and in between those things, that's completely fine, and we're supportive of that. And as I walk through that right now, so I'll just kick it back to Brian, and only with the firm for 2 months, Brian, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, so I mean, even when I came on, I heard a lot about the BRGs. There's a number of them, more military and veteran focused. And obviously with COVID, I haven't had the opportunity to attend any other events or any other meetings, but we do have internal social media site where there's certain groups on there. So as a lot of military spouses and active duty members know, a good example I can cite, the Military Spouse Network has their group within our social media platform. Armed Services Network has one. There's a reservist group. There's, literally anything you need to know about, you can find it. And if you can't find it, there's plenty of people, you can get a name. So like for the Spouse Network, when I got hired, as a lot of people know, I'm a resident in Arizona, but I don't live in Arizona. For a lot of companies, they're like, wait, you can't do that. And it's like, well, no, I can, So it took me kind of like getting the information from that spouse network to be like, hey, like, what do I need to do to get them the proper paperwork to show this, and for them to recognize this with payroll and everything else. And also another good example, being a reservist. I came in, I have to do my 2 weeks. What if a deployment comes up? What if I have a super UTA and I need to be out half the week? So I was able to get a lot of those questions answered within these networks by a simple search, basically. So they're great, and I'm really excited for once we get past these COVID times and to be able to get more involved with them and do more in-person type things.
All right, we'll go to the next slide. And this is just a good example of additional employee-driven networks that are kind of outside the different business resource groups. We truly do value the community impact, right? So through corporate contributions, as well as pro bono consulting, right? We support different programs related to health and education and STEM and STEM careers and community resiliency. We have a program called Booz Allen Cares, right? And this this particular resource really allows employees to connect with one another and then find opportunities to volunteer, right? Whether that's volunteering or funding or earning funds to be able to contribute to those organizations. So, think top 3, Junior Officers Club, Rising 6, right? Whatever military affiliated kind of like volunteer organization you were with, right? Those examples still continue, with a firm like Booz Allen, and this is just one of the things that we're proud to continue. And again, this is a great way to keep the charge and purpose of changing the world. And then finally, our last big slide. This is our awards and recognition. So all the, I think this is like the ribbon rack, right? Which as veterans and mil spouses and military affiliated family members, right? They all kind of recognize that, the awards and decorations. And so these are just a couple of the different things that that we have humbly earned over the last either year and or years. And I think it's also representative of kind of the diversity that we have, and hopefully the record that we bring by way of reputation. Brian, is anything? I know we got the militaryspouse.com on there, but does anything kind of jump at you as far as just things you're proud of?
Yeah, I mean, Military Times, it's always great if you can hook up with any organization. They do a great job of ranking. Even when I was going to school, looking for grad schools, from a transitioning perspective, that catches my eye. And then, I mean, as you said, like these are badges of honor, right? These are people that that felt our organizations were doing the right things for them. So it makes you really kind of proud to be part of an organization that prioritizes these things.
Yeah. And really with that, right, I'm sorry, we've got one more thing on here. So we would like to invite you all. We have an upcoming a very fun panel coming up, Women Defending Our Nation. It's on the website there, which is a live link now. You're all invited to sign up and listen in. We've got some significant panel members. So the head of our government relations, Mary Motherway. There are 2 U.S. representatives, Mickey Sherrill and Representative Houlihan from Pennsylvania. And then we have Jordana Siegel, who it works for Amazon. Gretchen Insidna is going to join us from I'm having a total blank on the name. Women in Defense. And then we have Phyllis Wilson joining us from Women in Service.
So Grant, you know what I'll do? When I send my follow-up email, I know this URL is a little bit long. I'll include the URL, and I know all the speakers are listed on there. So I will take care of that for everybody as part of it.
Yep. And so it's about an hour-long conversation. It's going to be followed by some networking with a couple of employers and some of the nonprofits that we're partnered with. So again, you're all welcome to come and join. It'll be good, a good walkthrough. Very, very interesting. And with it, and I just again want to thank Candy and Kevin. This is cool. These are great opportunities. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm on my phone, so I'm going to try to transition to a computer and work to actually answer questions. I saw a lot of LinkedIn and Q&A stuff. So thank you all very much. And I'll get my info to Candy so she can send it out to you guys later on.
Grant and Brian, thank you so much for being here. We're so appreciative of your time, and thanks for sharing with us a little bit about Booz Allen.
Can I jump in real quick before you go to tech? Sorry.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Brian and Grant, while we've got you. So just quick kind of logistical questions. So for the people that are on like a participants, I'm assuming you just go to your website and you look up the opportunities. There's nothing on here for them to just write down, but is there anything specific there as far as where to go to look at opportunities? In addition to that, the specifics, is there any sort of advice you would provide when applying for an opportunity or multiple opportunities? Because every company is a little bit different. So can you provide some background on that real quick? And Mike and team, I apologize for jumping into Tech's world.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, and I'll hit this up real fast, right? So, Google Booz Allen Careers, and that'll dump you right to the careers site. And then once you're in there, you can kind of navigate a couple of different things, right? So there is actually a military link where you can go to hit up kind of where they're looking for potentially like traditional like veteran positions. I will also give Candy the military recruiting teams info, so you guys all have that available. Best course of action that I would recommend is, you have to physically apply to positions. But that single application and that single click is really complemented by a reach out, right? And so now Brian and me, and soon you'll know the military recruiting team. And so reaching out with a personal hello, following an application to that particular requisition is super helpful. And then just in a context of timing, right? I think I am not a recruiter by trade, but generally what the recruiters say is like 60 to 90 days out is really when you kind of want to target those requisites based on your dates of availability. And Kevin, if that kind of covers it, like I said, I'll get all the info to Candy to be able to send out, so you guys have some extra people that you can reach out to and say hello, because they will all be very helpful long term, and they will all help answer your questions if you have additional ones.
It's Grant, I really appreciate you saying that, because I think, to your point, of course, the application is an important part of the process. I think the words you use were reach out, which I really like. Sometimes the words networking don't always feel that friendly to people, but reaching out, engaging is a word I like to use, connecting with people, building relationships, so that it's more than just an application, right? And I think, Mike, I know this is something that you love talking about from a recruiter's perspective, how the importance of networking and just kind of building those relationships early.
Networking gets more jobs than applications, but applications is a required process. All companies, like legally, you have to apply for us to follow up. Every company's in that boat, but a lot of people apply, so networking gets more done. You've heard me talk about it.
Yeah.
Hey, before they go, I don't know, Brian and Grant, if you saw it, but Dave had a question on, does Booz Allen Hamilton have opportunities for strictly remote work or something in data analysts? And then Brian, people wanted you to talk about your educational background, which I think you covered that, but I didn't know if you saw those questions in Q&A. Just want to point that out.
Sure. Yeah, I can go back and answer some of those more specifically. I'll also drop my LinkedIn in the chat so that everyone has that too, if you want to, send me a message on there. But there are remote positions. I won't speak to like specifics of what those positions are, because I'm not sure. But and then as far as my educational background, so my undergraduate was in management information systems. And then my graduate degree is in business analytics with an emphasis in data analytics. So yeah, but I'll go through here, and if there's any direct questions or anything like that, I'll just answer them in the chat so we don't have to take up any more time.
That's all good.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys so much. And Kevin, thanks for that question. That was definitely a good one to call out, because I know there are lots of folks that are on the call that are very interested in what Booz Allen may have. So thanks for calling that out. All right, Mike Powers and the tech team.
All right. Hey, my name is Mike Powers. I'm with TEKsystems, as we talked about earlier. I'll try to move quickly through a little bit of what jobs we have, what industries we cover, go through kind of what's going on with us, and then leave time for Q&A. And I'll try to move through it quick. So, but before I get started, I want my team to kind of introduce themselves again real quick and kind of the vantage point, because the vantage point I have and the advice and the information I'll give today is not just my opinion. It's based off placing thousands of people with over 500 companies for 22 years. So I've been a recruiter and a salesperson. So is Shannon, so is Taylor, Martha on here. We've knocked on doors. People have told us what they do and don't like about candidates, and particular veterans. So what we have to say today is an aggregate of what all the Fortune 500 companies we work with say, as well as the others. So this isn't just our wisdom nuggets. It's coming from years of placing people to work. So that's one of those.
Hey, Mike, sorry, can I just jump in real quick?
Clearly.
We just tell people a little bit about TEKsystems for those that may not be familiar with tech.
Yeah, I will. Do you want me to do that, or you want to let Taylor and everybody kind of say who they are? Didn't know which way you want to do it.
Oh, you know what? I'll totally defer to you. Fantastic. Sorry. I'm over here. I'll keep my mouth shut.
So, yeah, Shannon, can you tell us real quick, just for those that jumped on late, kind of who you are and a little bit about yourself real quick?
Yeah, sure. Again, Shannon McAdoo. I'm a 24-year retired veteran, and I've been with TEKsystems for 24 years, believe it or not. So was fortunate enough to retire in 2011 from the Texas military forces. And what we do or what I do as a recruiter is advise candidates on how the best strategies on being able to, get their resume in front of the hiring manager. Unfortunately, the masses who do not understand the imperative importance of networking typically apply for jobs and they're going through the front door like everyone else. If you're able to build some good relationships with some good recruiters that are really effective at their job, they're able to get your resume directly in the hands of the person who's actually doing the hiring. And believe it or not, most people that do want perm, it takes anywhere from 57 to 70 plus days for a permanent position to actually get filled, whereas typically if you do going in as a consultant, you typically can get in the door at a much quicker rate than that. So I'll stop there and defer to my other colleagues.
Thanks, Shannon. Taylor?
Mm-hmm.
Hi, again, my name is Taylor Jarrett. I sit in the Fort Worth office, but I do have visibility around all roles open to the DFW area specifically, but again, to everything that is within the United States. I've been with tech for 2 years. I am on the military side, first lieutenant in the AG Corps. Again, as a first lieutenant, I'm pretty new to the military as well. But throughout my time both in the military and with tech, I've been able to help individuals explain what they do on the military side and translate that to the civilian sector. Actually, right now, one of my soldiers, he is leaving the military, so he is going through that transition. So I'm able to help him talk about, hey, I've been dealing with military comms. Okay, what have you been doing specifically, and how can we translate that? So like Shannon said, we are here to help translate that information for individuals transitioning and being able to give the resume directly to the hiring manager. Again, I'm Taylor Jarrett.
Thanks, Taylor. Martha, you got a unique perspective, spouse, veteran.
Yes, hi everybody. I'm Martha Sanders. I actually sit out of my home. I'm from the Tampa office originally, though. I've been with tech almost 7 years. It'll be 7 in February. Been in the military for 6. So that means I joined tech and then joined the military. As a reservist, I work at the Medevac Aviation facility down here in Tampa. I currently work as a project coordinator for our global services branch of TEKsystems. So I'm not a recruiter, but I have worked in pretty much every space in regards to customer support and service operations within TEKsystems. Got to travel to a bunch of different offices, meet a lot of different people, work with different clients. So definitely very thankful for all the opportunities I've had at Tech. Kind of got me into my current role as a project coordinator based off of my networking. So definitely can attest to how that can boost your career as well.
Great, thanks, Martha. So TEKsystems, who we are and what we do, and you can move along on the slide if you want, Candy, the next one, and just leave that up. But we're an IT staffing services company. We're the largest one in the United States. We hire about 33,000 people a year in IT positions. We hire over 3,000 veterans per year into those IT roles. And we have 120 locations across the US, but we also have Canada, Asia, London, Australia. We're all over the place. So if it comes to an IT position, we have them. We have contract positions. We have what we call contract to hire, which means you go in on contract and the client hires you on permanent. And we have what we call direct placements, which means the company could or could not find people. Maybe they don't have an HR department, whatever it is, but they want someone permanent on their company roster, but they use us to find the people. So we have about 2,000 recruiters like Shannon, like Taylor on this call that talk to people about what they want to do, keep copious notes in the database. And as our jobs open up, they call you to say, this is what we got, this is what pays, this is where it is. So that's what we do as a business. Now, on top of that, we do have positions that support that business, which is finance, payroll, customer service, legal, HR. Our headquarters is in Baltimore, Maryland, where a lot of those support roles are, and our West Coast headquarters is in Phoenix. So you can imagine probably what those roles are, but we hire about 3,000 people a year into those roles throughout the US as well. For the spouses on the call, we do have most of the remote recruiters that we have. We have a group called the Government Services Vertical, and their entire focus is to find people for IT positions that support government entities like Booz Allen, Lockheed Martin, SAIC. And we have, I think right now we're currently at 32 spouses that work for us recruiting people with clearances in the IT roles. And it has worked out great because anytime they PCS, whether their wife or their husband transitions somewhere, they stay with us because we don't care where they work. So they're also very good at finding people that have been in military with clearances to put in our position. So that's our strongest spouse hiring portal, is in the remote recruiting positions. You're probably sitting there going, that's great, what's it pay? It pays $50K salary plus commissions. The average recruiter makes $110K at TEKsystems. So we work with all the Fortune 500 companies. We work with 80% of the Fortune 2000 companies. We have over 3,100 clients currently today that we place people in. And again, that's about 33,000 in IT. So that's a little bit about who we are. We do have a high volume of, veterans on our payroll. You can see the awards there that come through. That's been gradually growing. Pretty guard and reserve friendly. When I came into the company, we didn't have any policies or anything in place. I wrote those policies, being a guard and reservist, trying to do my aviation and M-Day stuff. So we do pay while you're out, commission while you're out. Martha's been a part of that. Taylor's been a part of that. Shannon's been a part of that. So have I. So we have a lot of guard and reservists now that come in our fold because they're allowed to have two careers at once. We do let people come and go as they need to for that side of the house. Just like Booz Allen and most companies, we do have an employee resource group called Honor for Veterans. We have one for military spouses as well, in which Martha on this call does a lot of that work. And then, of course, we do a lot of charity work with veterans organizations. We have 3 or 4 flagship organizations, but probably the coolest thing that you would care about is we have a program called Tech Gives Back. And out of those 120 locations, we know that every city and every office and every employee has something they care about. So there's a program by which if you raise money for a charity, in particular veterans or spouses, we will match you dollar for dollar up to $500 for every organization that you raise money for yearly. So that's several $1 million we put out through that, as well as programs like the Pat Tillman Foundation, Wounded Warrior Project, and others that we do nationally. Next slide, Candy. So if you look at this is just kind of a snapshot in the last year of where we placed veterans in IT. If you're on the other side of this, you're probably looking at those numbers and wondering what kind of roles It's anything from entry level all the way up to CIOs and senior and project managers and developers. We do also have programs in which we train veterans through Perscolas and Creating IT Futures, where we will pay people to train into IT while they're still in uniform as they exit out and jump into entry level roles. So we have a lot of veterans in our recruiting ranks that can understand your resume and know what that verbiage is and help translate that. So that's the lion's share of what we've got. As far as the openings that we have in IT, it's probably too many to say currently at this time. Let me put this in chat. But as far as recruiting, sales, and business roles, we do have openings in 42 cities right now. And I just put that link in the chat. If you want to do a search by location or by skill, there's a tool in the chat box right now that will let you search by that. So that'll make it quicker. The last thing I'll say, because I know I've got a slow draw, but I'm talking fast because I'm trying to save you time. Reach out to us, talk to recruiters. You know, if you apply for a position, myself and everybody on this call, you can reach out to us via email or LinkedIn, and we can help you navigate that and get you real-time information today and get back to you about what's open and, you know, connect you with the right people quickly. That's what I'll say about that. Go ahead, Candy. Next slide. All right, so I'm gonna stop for a second, but that's a little bit about who we are and the roles we've got. You know, as far as culture and all that, we are a top 100 company to work for every year. Top for millennials, top for veterans. You saw those awards. So every company says they're great to work for, right? But we're really great to work for. I mean, we mean it. We're a good company to work for. And we do a lot as far as culture, professional development, personal development. We spend a lot of time and money with programs to train people to move into management in our company. Programs like Emerge and SLP. So the number one reason people stay at TEKsystems is probably the culture. As far as leaving and moving throughout your career, most people get hired on by our clients. So that's how they move on and move up. But if anyone has any questions on anything about the openings or for anybody in this panel, we're glad to answer them right now. What I wanted to do today, in light of what Candy and Kevin were saying, is talk about some very real stuff about getting a job. And this isn't about TEKsystems. This is about the general landscape as you move out of college or transition out of service. Some things that we see because we're fortunate enough to be on the staffing side about what's out there and mistakes people make, or some misnomers or unknowns. You know, one thing I hear a lot, and Taylor and Shannon and Martha can jump in on this as much as you want right now, but the most common statement I get is, I applied to that company, they didn't get back to me. I don't know if they have openings or if they really want to hire veterans. And what you don't know is, if I post a job right now online, by this time tomorrow, I might have 3,000 people and I can't get to them all. The other misnomer is that somebody in HR sits and goes through every applicant for every job. And I wish that was true. The truth of the matter is, they go through so many, then they have lunch, then they deal with some kind of work issue, and then they come back, and then the next day it refreshes. So this slide here to me is very important, and Candy talks about LinkedIn all the time. Networking gets more jobs than applying for the job. Applying is almost the second step, the required step to get in the door and get a job. But you need to be on LinkedIn. You need to be going out into the community to the veterans events. I know COVID has stopped a lot of that, but I've met more people I remember through events like Vets in Tech, or Women Who Code, or Veterans in Business. And we talk and we see each other face to face, and they remember me and I remember them. And then when I come back to my office, it's easier for them to be a forefront and me to connect them with someone. So, you know, some of the mistakes I see is, this is not like the military where you're on a promotion list, you're in the top 5, you know, you're going to get a call and get an interview, and it goes from there. It's a volume thing that many don't understand. So the biggest mistake is, I'm going to apply and wait. I highly advise you to find who is the Veterans and Disabilities Program Manager at Booz Allen. Who is it at Humana Healthcare? I'm going to LinkedIn them. I'm going to call them, because their job and their metrics and the way they're reviewed is how they help veterans. So they're more likely to walk down the hall and tell Mr. or Mrs. Manager about me than for me to get through on an application. And circling that into this slide right now is LinkedIn. If you think about how many emails you get, or the volume of, like, I don't know, Amazon and all these things that are emailing you to buy stuff, HR is no different. They've got HR emails that come in. They've got spam emails. They've got True Green Lawn Care that sends them an email. You're going to get lost in the shuffle. But when me and my team, when we pivot to LinkedIn and we're looking at LinkedIn, there's no spam. So as you connect with me on LinkedIn, I connect back quickly. I can also see your history. I can see who you know. So I'm more likely to follow up with you on LinkedIn, honestly, than an email or an application. So, that's the big thing I want to say here on this slide. And make sure that when you do that, complete it and finish it. I'm sure you've all been told, but if you're looking for a job and you've got a lot of LinkedIn or Facebook pictures, or some things where maybe you're shotgunning a beer, or maybe some things are a little bit wild, you might want to maybe consider going private on that stuff, because we do look at that. Fair or not fair, everything digital is being looked at. So use the tool, make sure you use LinkedIn, call people and follow up. The biggest problem I have with getting back to people is they may call me and leave a message, and then I heard it, but I got a call from my boss, or I've got something I'm pivoting to. And next thing you know, it's 6 o'clock. Now I gotta go get my kid. I gotta get my kid to football. I come back next day and a whole new thing starts. So don't take it personal if you don't get a call back, but call people, call them over and over. If you don't reach us, just keep calling. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. That's what happens, because we all get busy. Think of your own life. So be diligent. Veterans need to be diligent and stay on it and stay on people. So I'm going to shut up for a minute. Martha, Taylor, Shannon, do y'all have any more to add to that I didn't cover about, LinkedIn and, the process on our end that veterans don't see? Shannon, you're on mute, buddy. There you go.
I thought you did well. A few additional things is just make certain that your LinkedIn profile and your resume mirror each other, because some people can fluff one and the other one, and then when they see comparing both of them, they start seeing some discrepancies. And so just make sure that all that stuff kind of lines up well. Of course, when you're applying for roles and you're doing your networking piece, you also want to look at the opportunity that you're applying for and make certain that, hopefully your resume has some of the key terminology that company uses to describe that position. So it's like you're using their words to describe your background and experience. And for whatever reason, subconsciously, that tends to resonate with people. And so those are just a few tips I've learned over the years of advising people and helping them work through their resume and make sure that it's tight, is just, no spelling errors, et cetera. There's enough tools out there that make you look like a really smart person. Like myself, I'm not. So I'm just saying. So I take advantage of technology in that capacity to read, review, and then read it again and review it again, just to make certain before I send it to somebody, because of course you only get that one opportunity to make that good impression there. So, but great job, Mike.
I think you're very smart, Shannon. Martha, Taylor, if y'all don't have anything to add, it's fine. But you got anything to add before we jump to the next one?
Yeah, really quick. I just want to emphasize the importance of networking. Mike, you did a great job saying that, but just, networking, especially on LinkedIn, is not just sending one request, the connection request, and then leaving it at that. Just continue to follow up, and don't get discouraged, right? There's times where you send over the connection, you send over the resume, and then it might take 2-3 weeks. And even right now, I connected with a lady back in March, and it's been months, and she just walked in the door this past Monday. So networking isn't just about sending the connection. It's about following up, following through, and just being persistent and not getting discouraged.
Great.
Hey, Taylor, can I just make a quick something that thought of? So you're 100% right. So often folks will send connect requests on LinkedIn and then it kind of stops. So I'm going to I'll take Mike as an example. Mike doesn't post on LinkedIn all that often, but guess what? If Mike posts something on LinkedIn, I don't care what it is. Maybe he posted something about his cat or one of his sons. But if Mike posts something on LinkedIn and you write a friendly comment on Mike's post, he gets an alert every single time there's any engagement on that post. So it's a way to just start following people that you want to be connected with and just look for opportunities to support what they're already doing, right? And then guess what? Your name's going to pop up. Mike's going to see it. Maybe then he'll remember, oh yeah, I met that person at this event. Let me follow up now that I have this opportunity. So there are easy ways to start building relationships in that way, simply by supporting when Mike does post on LinkedIn.
Right. Great.
Can I?
Yeah,
Can I
Grant,
just-
Ian, or Brian, if y'all got anything to say, jump in, feel free.
Yeah, I just wanted to. Sorry, now I have a horrible echo because I have two great things going here. I just think it's really important to recognize that these are skills and techniques that will follow you through your career and not just during transition. And I don't know that we collectively talk about or acknowledge that, but I do think it's very important that you recognize that as an audience to be able to, really move forward successfully in whatever your new career becomes.
Yeah.
Grant, I love that you made that point, because one of the reasons that we are connected to you guys is because of a relationship that I have built with Laura Schmiegel on LinkedIn. And so, listen, I've been in my career a really long time, but to that's a great point of this building relationships follows you. It's not just about job searching, right? It's about all kinds of things. And so, Grant, I appreciate you just making that point.
Yeah, every connection you make is a tentacle. So, let's just say I met Kevin and Candy today. They may not have jobs, but they went to some party or they went to some event and somebody's like, I really need somebody that was in aviation but knows how to recruit because I need somebody to recruit aviation. Then they're the ones that go, oh, well, there's this person, Mike Powers. That far and away does more than the scouring of the very noisy internet. It's just, we're all human. We're tactile. We remember things we see, touch, and hear more than what we read. So I really want to stress that point today. And then with networking here, the elevator pitch, I bet a lot of people, especially if you're a student, you've heard this. That's basically, can you sum yourself up quickly, where if you meet someone in an elevator, by the time it gets to a certain floor, do they remember who you are, what you do, what you can do for them, and why they should hire you, and how they contact you? I would call it more of a cocktail pitch, because if you're at a party or if you're at an event or whatever, and you walk up to someone, you need to be able to be succinct and, hey, I met Grant. He's in Booz Allen. I'm gonna run up to him and I'm gonna get a job at Booz Allen. Hey, my name's Jane or John Doe. I've always wanted to work at Booz Allen because you work in this space. I'm going to school because of that. And I'm not just looking for a job. I want to be at Booz Allen. And here's why I'm a fit, because in the military, I did this that matches your job, and be done. And he knows why, what, and knows your commitment. That does a lot more than just, you applying saying, I've got these skills. The other thing I was going to make a point today is when you interview or when you apply for a job, you meet someone, if they have an opening, the one thing they never tell you that they're looking at is this person going to be here long term? Because I got a million people that want my job, and I don't want somebody that's just looking for a job and going to quit in 10 months. If I hire them on and onboard them and get their clearance and get through all this stuff, I want them here forever. So they're really trying to gauge, why does this person want to be here? Do they have an imperative reason why they want to be in this role or at my company? And if they do, they're less likely to quit, which means I'm less likely to have to do this again in 1 year. And that's what I see in staffing is we'll send 10 people that are qualified. But out of those 10, whichever one convinces that person across the desk that they not only can do the job, but they want to be in that company and that culture for that reason, gets the job. Because we have a whole section for every opening we have on culture and why the job's open. And that's a big part of it. I mean, Shannon and Taylor can tell you, we've always got enough candidates. It's which one matches long-term, are they close? Are they already in the area? What do they know about the company? The biggest mistake I've seen a few veterans do is they'll jump into an interview and they'll say, these are my skills. And then the person will say, well, why do you want to be at TEKsystems? I'll say, well, what do you all do? And that's an immediate, like, you didn't research who we are, what we do. Okay. And then it's just like, if you're not going to research it when you need a job, I'm worried about how much research you're going to do when you got a job. So those are a couple of nuggets, for what that's worth. And Candy can get this slide out later if everybody wants to look at it later. Let's go to the next one, Candy. I think this is the one that I think, yes. This is my favorite slide that I share all the time. These are not my opinions. These are things that you may or may not agree with personally, and that's okay. But this is a survey done by Forbes magazine. So this isn't like Mike Powers doing a survey monkey. This is a very legitimate survey that was done. It's getting dated now, I think 2015 maybe. But they said, why would you hire or not hire a veteran? And as Forbes reached out to all these companies about it, these are the 9 bullet points that came back. I think this is important to go through because it is my opinion that we do a good job of telling veterans why they're important. Everyone thanks you for your service. Everyone talks about leadership and making decisions. But you're sitting there trying to get a job and you want to know the real truth of like, okay, why didn't I get that job? Right here's the answer. And I think sometimes in public forums like the one we're on right now, which is why I love this forum that Candy has, too many times people don't want to say anything negative or say this is why you didn't get the job. They just want to tell veterans they're great, move on, but they don't get real enough. So in an effort of being very real today, I want you all to look at this and memorize this. And I think one thing that comes across the most and what I see, and my team can jump in on this, is most veterans jump out and go to school. The school tells them they're going to make 100K if they come get this degree or this cert, or things are going to go good. Or they're exiting service and someone comes to a yellow ribbon event from a company and says, you're all great, we want to hire you. And you hear that, so you think that, and then a year later, you don't have a job. The biggest thing they don't say is, hey, you got to start over. Hey, that salary is not, you were great in the military, and the reason we're hiring you is because of skills or traits. But we're still going to have to retrain you in project management or whatever it is. We're hiring you based off the fact that we think you're going to be a hard worker, but we still got to tool you up in the skills we need in these walls. And because we got to tool you up, we're not going to start you out at 120K. We're going to start you out at 60K. Now you may bell curve and move up quickly because you have life experience, because you have some management decision-making experience, but we still have to teach you software development or, finance, whatever it is. So as a veteran, you need to be willing to step back sometimes. You're going to have to learn over. It's hard when you're in charge of people. Maybe you're an E6, E7, maybe you're an 03, 04. Sometimes it's hard to step back and be a role player and not be the decision maker. I think that's what I've seen as a big struggle, jumping over on the side. But know that that's something you might have to do, and know that it's just a step back for a while you step forward. You're trying to find your own lane. So I won't belabor these points. I'm trying to keep time in mind as I look at the clock, but I do think these are important to look at. And I think number 6 is a problem with some of our younger veterans. Know that Facebook and Instagram are getting looked at. And what I'll say personally, I'm going to speak for myself and not others, is they don't care if you drink beer and stuff, but if they see some things that are super wild on there, the question that comes up is this person going to make it in on Monday morning? Is this person going to be on time? So keep your social media footprint in mind. But I'm going to shut up now because I've done too much talking. But is anybody from my team, Grant, Brian, do you all have anything to add to this? I get crickets. I'm going to have to call people out. Am I going to call you out, Kevin, Shannon? I see some comments here. Yeah,
I mean, I think
Well, listen to me talk, Mike. I'm waiting for your team. You guys go right ahead.
Trying to see the comments here real quick. Martha, you've deployed and come back recently. You're probably like me. I worked with a lot of being a guard person, when you get deployed, you get mixed in with regular Army and regular Air Force and so forth and come back. And the biggest thing I saw is I would talk to people when we're coming back, we're sitting around the tents or sitting on the long lines doing nothing. And they're like, well, I'm going to apply to this position, but they're not doing anything to research what they want to do or why they want to be at a company. I think you need to know your why. You need to know why you want to be at something, and you need to be able to express that intently, and that's going to separate you. But I just don't think people do enough research, and they just don't keep banging on the door enough. They're like, hey, I applied once and got off. That's what I hear the most. And I know Martha's probably seen that. Taylor's job as a recruiter, her whole job is to put people to work. And somebody might call her Wednesday, but not call her back by Monday, and she's just gotten busy and forgot. Even as a recruiter, we need you to keep banging on her door. It's not personal. We just get busy and we got to get back to you. So, any thoughts?
Mike, I was going to say, was someone else going to talk? Because I'm only talking. I don't want to talk. Else. So the part that it's especially with like Booz, for example, you guys are obviously with TEKsystems. It's technical, and it seems kind of scary, especially if you're someone like Brian who is actively, aggressively looking to go into the techie world and dive into data, which can be mind-numbing for a lot of other people, myself included. It's like these companies, one, that they all have, as you mentioned, they all have HR, they all have sales, they all have finance, they all have these, all the buckets that are required to drive a company. It's, we have like CVS or whatever on these calls. And it's like, well, I'm not interested in hawking pharmaceuticals. It's like, great. I'm not big into, popping pills either, but they sell a lot of stuff. I mean, they have this infrastructure that they all have with them. And in addition, even in the tech space, the technical spaces, I got into Lockheed, and I wasn't that technical. I just had a military background, but they were looking for something specific. So I went into training, but I was training software. And then from that, I started moving up eventually into project management, went to Dell, and that's all IT, just like Lockheed. More into project management stuff, but you're around a lot of the technical, which is really fun to learn. But just because it's technical, there's a lot of opportunities inside of that technical space, because not everybody can be a coder. I mean, you got the network engineers, software engineers, hardware engineers, but all of them have these support groups. So when these companies like Booz Allen are communicating about what they do, there's a ton of stuff that I didn't understand getting out of the military. I just thought you were either a doctor, a cop, whatever, just the basics. And most of the people on this call and the participants probably aren't as ignorant as I was. Even all my buddies had jobs. I didn't care. It's like, it's great, dude. That's cool. Wonderful. Thanks. Yeah. But there's a lot of opportunity out there. And the more you communicate, the more you talk to people, the more they can help you understand what these companies do, what these roles are. So anyway, I'm just throwing that stuff out.
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, sometimes if you know that you like the culture of a company and you want to be at a company, don't apply to the role, apply to the company. Find the veterans program manager and tell them why you like the company, why you want to be there. I got an IT degree at the University of Kentucky, and I was sitting in front of a computer looking for a semicolon or a colon in the wrong place for about 6 months, and I couldn't stand it. So when I told them I was dumb because I don't like this work, they said, hey, we need more technical people to be recruiters and talk to people. Would you want to talk to people for a living? I was like, all right, cool. It sounds good. I didn't go to college going, I'm going to be a recruiter with this IT degree. It just happened that way. And it happened through conversing with someone. So again, networking, I wouldn't have known about a recruiting job and that I can be out talking to people for a living if I didn't talk to someone. So for me, I just tripped into it by conversing with someone. So the point I'm making here is sometimes you got to go out and do things to figure out what you don't like to know what you do like. So don't be so lane specific, which is kind of the narrative I was hearing from you, Kevin, is don't always lock in on exactly what you want to do. Get going. Maybe you'll figure out what you don't want to do or what you want to do along the way, because nobody's doing the same thing at 30 that they were doing when they were 20.
Roger that. Yeah. Thanks, Ken. Sorry for jumping in there.
No, listen, guys, great discussion. And, here's the thing. I love it when these calls go to the very end because it means there's really good discussion and people are engaging. So I know that we have some Q&As coming in right now. Here's what I'm gonna do. We have 5 minutes left. Looks like we have about 5 questions in the Q&A that aren't answered. I'm gonna ask the panelists, if you can answer those, type in the answer, that would be awesome. If not, we can follow up after this for any of those that are outstanding. But we do have a giveaway today that I wanna make sure that we get to. Again, Mike and team at TEKsystems, thank you so much for providing a $200 Amazon gift card for us to give away today. Couple of quick things, no repeat winners. So if you've been here before and you've won a gift card, please let somebody else win it. The third person to type the correct answer to the question I'm going to show you in the Q&A box, that's important. Don't type it in the chat box, type it in the Q&A box. The third person to type in the correct answer in the Q&A box to this question is going to win. So here is the question. How many veterans did TEKsystems, per Mike Powers, how many veterans did TEKsystems place into IT roles last year? Is the answer 500 plus?
Shannon's got his hand up.
Who's got it?
1,200 plus or 3,000 plus? Shannon, you are not allowed to. All right, so we're looking in the Q&A box. All right, who is the third person? It looks like, oh geez, lots of right answers here.
Oh yeah, I have to go back and figure this out here.
Oh goodness, oh goodness. Okay, so there's 1, 2. It looks like Daniel DeSico. Is that who you guys are seeing? Was the third person to get the right answer?
I'm not saying anything because if it's wrong, I don't want him being mad at me. I'm going to sit back here and not say a word.
All right, Daniel DeSico. Thank you so much. TEKsystems placed over 3,000 people into IT roles and veterans into IT roles in 2019. That's awesome. All right, Daniel, we will circle with you afterward to send you a gift card.
Woo woo.
A couple of things I want to wrap with, guys. We've actually talked about some of this, and so every week I try to pull in quotes that inspire me from folks that I follow on LinkedIn. It so happens that our speakers have talked a lot about this. If you are not already following Matthew LaPointe, I highly recommend it. Matthew is one of the people that I follow with lots of anticipation on LinkedIn. Something he wrote just this week was when he got out of the military, it was hard. He didn't believe in networking or social media, and frankly, he still doesn't. What he believed in was meritocracy, and that if you're good at your job, it will all work out. He says the problem is that meritocracy only works when combined with awareness. And he goes on to talk about how for him, LinkedIn is about building awareness to opportunity. Matthew shares out every single role that he comes across that's shared by any recruiter across the country. So he is sharing out thousands and thousands of jobs. I highly recommend you follow him just for a little bit of inspiration about what's out there. Secondly, John Cobb posted this on LinkedIn recently, and he says, what people think happens when you make a career change is that you completely start over from day one. What actually happens is you bring all of your past experience with you and you learn faster, you challenge your assumptions, you become more humble, and you gain a new perspective. So for those of you out there that are in transition, cheers to you for reinventing yourselves. You'll be better for it. We're here to support you. And a couple of friendly reminders. Please leverage LinkedIn as much as you can. Find your tribe of mentors that can personally help you. Engage directly and proactively with those in industry. So being here today is a huge part of that. Open every single door. So just like Mike talked about, nobody's gonna place you into a role. You have to proactively work on that. After our session ends, you're gonna see a post-session survey pop up. And I'm going to ask you, which of my employer partners do you want me to share your email address with to add to their military talent communities? If you would like to be added, you can select as many of those as you want. Both Tech and Booz Allen are going to be part of that. Listen, sharing your email is not going to get you a job, right? But when they share out their opportunities, you can be on the distribution list. If you have found this session helpful, please share, tag us on LinkedIn, any other social media. We will respond. Finally, join us next week Wednesday, we have a SkillBridge Connect session, and next Thursday, again, we're back with Wells Fargo and Deloitte. With that, I'd like to say thank you today to all of our speakers for joining us. We appreciate you being here. Kevin, thank you for joining me on these every week. Thank you to our university partners and all of our corporate sponsors. And with that, thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Good fun.
Thanks, Candy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.
Bye, everybody. Happy COVID
Thanks,
day
Kevin.
300.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you, guys. Nice work, Cam.